of the alcohol, la 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 la. Just line 'em up and we will drink them all, la 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 la. But my mother always said, if you want to drink all day, you best start in the morning, son, 'cause that's the Irish way. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every other mother will agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every motherfucker must agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me, and you and me, and you and me. Let there be whiskey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Chris,
I'm Russ.
and this is episode 372.
372 back in the virtual nerd basement. Holy shit. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It is a gray day here in the city of Detroit. And
Yeah, we're supposed to get we're getting the remnants of the hurricane.
Tonight, like early or late in the night, early in the morning, pretty much all day tomorrow is supposed to be pretty rough.
Yeah, they're saying 1 to 2 inches of rain tonight, 1 to 2 inches of rain tomorrow.
I heard it was more like half that. I heard like half an inch to an inch.
Though, well, according to weather.com, when I looked at it earlier, over here it said 1 to 2 inches tonight, and then yet for tomorrow's it said 1 to 2 inches expected. Now,
if that's the case, that's a lot of fucking rain.
That is a lot of fucking rain.
Ridiculous ridiculous level of fucking rain. My friends were like at work, were kind of like, do we even bother? Do we bother to even show to come in tomorrow? And I'm like, fuck, I'll come in.
I'm not, because I got to drive down the canal that is 94 to get to work.
Right. Yeah.
Your mic just fell.
My cord is all like,
oh wow, dude! It looks like an old telephone cord.
Yeah, it's for whatever reason. It gets really kinked easy, and I gotta unplug it to.
Hey, don't kink shame, man.
Never. So,
yes, CD, you're right. Our states are now Florida.
Yeah, fuck, dude, it's crazy, man. It's getting super crazy, rainy tomorrow. But I mean, I'll go in unless it gets, unless it starts flooding everywhere.
Yeah. I can work from home, so I'm going to.
Well, there you go.
Plus, I was just up in Bay City yesterday for work, so I went into the office once this week, just not my home office.
Right.
I drove 2 hours to get to the office this week.
Jesus, that's awful. I gotta leave work early on Thursday, so I don't want to skip an entire day. I'm teaching a class at a library about character creation and drawing your characters.
Well, today I drove home. I got up, did a little bit of work, and then was on a meet at my normal Tuesday morning meeting from the hotel, and then got in the car and drove home. And just right after our meeting, my boss called me, because it's our whole team meeting, and he called me up right afterwards, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I don't know how long it takes you to get home." I'm like, "It's about 2 hours or so." He's like, "A little under." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "As long as you're around this afternoon," he goes, "if you want to flex your time out, just go for it." He goes, "I don't care." I'm like, "All right, cool, I will."
Flex your time out. What does that mean?
It means I can basically, because I worked almost 15 hours yesterday, I can use some of that today as time off, basically. So I didn't have to work the whole day. So I worked a total of 4 hours and 45 minutes today between what I was doing this morning and my drive home.
Man, when it's a long drive like that, they should be paying you for the fucking drive, man.
Oh, they do. I get paid for that. That's work time. If it's somewhere where I wouldn't normally go, like for me, I wish I could get paid for my trip into the office, but they can't legally actually pay you for that. Okay. But because there's some legality with that. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember hearing that. But yeah, if you're actually going to another office, that is paid time.
I see.
Yeah, CD, that's what it is too. I work as much as I need to get my work done. And that's the thing. So that's one of the big things. And we can talk about this for a minute. I mean,
Sure.
So I'm of the belief, and even though I have to I don't really punch a clock, but I have to put in like what hours I work, as far as I work this much on, new projects. I work this much on existing stuff, and I work this much on like repair or troubleshooting. And this is my time in meetings and travel. And, this, I split it up that way. And it's because a lot of our work is done. We're a civil engineering firm. A lot of our engineers have to work on projects, and they're billable. So it's billable hours. So they have to record, I worked on this project for 8 hours, or, for 4 hours. I worked on this project for 2 hours, that type of thing. And I understand that. I'm not like that. I'm overhead. In IT, we're overhead. And the thing is that, so I'm salary as well. So it doesn't matter how many hours I work, I get paid the same amount.
Right.
And I've had bosses that were like, I don't care if you work, 32 hours this week, as long as your work's done, I don't care. Because as soon as you make me, you pay me hourly, you're paying me to be there for a certain amount of time. You pay me salary, you're paying me to get a job done. If my job's getting done, it doesn't matter how many hours I'm there. As long as my work is done.
Right, exactly. And that's the way it should be.
And that's the way it should be.
There are a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of older, companies that are older people working at companies that still feel like they're still prescribing to that older style of thing. It was like, if you get paid a certain amount of money, you should be accountable for 40 hours a week for that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. And I mean, there's a lot of places over in Europe, and actually there's starting to be, from what I heard, there's starting to be more and more here that are looking at or have gone to a shorter work week.
Yeah.
And they're finding people are more productive.
Yeah, exactly. Or instead of not necessarily shorter hours, shorter week, like longer days, but
not here. They're not over in Europe. It is 32 hours.
Oh, okay.
It is 4 8-hour days. It's not 5. They actually
I know that there are some companies that are looking at, saying like,
I think that's bullshit. I think that's bullshit. You don't need 10-hour days.
No, I don't.
I'm already there. That because with a lunch, that's going to make it 11. And I don't need to be at work. And then plus a commute. Fuck you.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The problem is a 32-hour work week. People still aren't going to want to take that cut in pay if they're paid hourly. So that's the drag. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to cut the work week shorter, am I still getting paid the same amount, or am I, because that's a lot of people that are like, that can't live on 32 hours if they're paid hourly. They need that extra 8 hours of pay. So do we all go salary then at that point? I mean, because that's the thing too. I've known, and I mean, hell, at my job, I'm salary, and there are times when I'm there for 50 hours in a week or 60 hours in a week.
And that was what my old boss said.
He's
like, I don't care if you work 35, 36 hours this week, because I know that, next week you're going to work 45. So it goes it's all going to wash. Right. He's like, there's weeks where you're here longer. There's weeks where you're here shorter. He's like, you got to go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. I don't care.
Right. Exactly. It's I'm very much of the opinion that as long as the work gets done, who cares?
Yep.
Do you have to be at the office? If you can do it from home, do it from home. As long as you're do it in your pajamas.
I actually work more hours when I work from home than I do when I'm in the office. When I'm in the office, I'm like, nope, I'm out right now, because if I don't leave right this second, then I'm going to get stuck in traffic, and it'll take me an hour and a half to get home instead of an hour. And I'm like, fuck that. So, I mean, that's 2 hours. That's about close to 2 hours of my day if I'm in the office. It's about 45 minutes in and about an hour and 15 home, generally. Hour to an hour and 15. So
I'm lucky in that my commute one way is 20 minutes tops. Maybe even it's 15, depending on the route that I take. It really depends.
but anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to go off on a rant here, but
It ultimately comes down to, and I really feel and believe this, like if a person can get their job done in 30 hours and get paid, if they're getting paid the same as somebody working 40 hours and they get the same amount of work done in less time, hey, great. That means he is a very good, he or she who gets that same amount done in less time means he or she is a very effective and efficient worker and should be, I don't know, maybe praised, maybe rewarded for that. The other problem is or some people would say it's a good thing. It pushes other people doing that same job up to that level. If they can't make that up to that level, then then it shows that maybe the job needs to be adjusted or the person needs to be adjusted, maybe put into a different position or whatever. But it also depends, like, maybe that person doing that same amount of work in 30 hours instead of 40 hours is younger, is stronger, is maybe a little smarter. There's a lot of factors involved. So certain level, and I think that's one of the things that why people like that 40-hour work week is because it standardizes things, at least to a certain extent. If everybody's working the same amount of time, the math.
Yeah, but if you standardize it on 32, that's just an arbitrary number that somebody came up with.
I think a 4-day work week would probably end up being a lot. It would. I think the numbers do, from what I understand, the numbers do work out that people end up being more efficient and effective over those 4 days instead of the 5 days. They get more time to spend with their families. They get more time to spend with their leisure time activities. You end up being happier in the long run. Yeah.
Yep. So, how was your week?
Well, last week I was off pretty much most of it. I had we did our show on Tuesday, and then I was off for 5 days after that. So that.
Hey, Ojipo.
Hi, Ojipo. Good to see you. So it was nice to have 5 days off. I was going to go in on Wednesday to the studio, but then when I found out that I'd be the only person there, and most of the work that I have to do right now is kind of high up. It's up on. I really can't. I shouldn't be doing work on a ladder or work on in the cherry picker unless there's other people there in case an accident happens.
Does your cherry picker at least have like a safety belt?
Yeah, I have to wear a safety thing and everything else.
Yeah,
but
see,
even
when I worked in the warehouse back in the 90s, well, late 80s, we had like the little pickers, and none of them had safety belts in them.
That's an OSHA violation. Is what that is.
Yep. One of my buddies fell actually from about 20 feet up.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah. He fell off the edge and between it and the racks and fell all the way to the ground. He cracked his head open.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, we have they're making us be really super extra careful now. Before we used to do kind of shit that was like, yeah, it's probably not a great idea, climbing on things or getting like climbing up something and creating like taking like a I really shouldn't talk about this kind of stuff, but just doing stuff to get the job done that probably wasn't the most safe. I remember taking our lives in our hands, but probably things that weren't the safest. But now, over the last couple of years, because it's OSHA's been paying a greater attention to us and stuff. And at first we kind of resented it a little bit. We're like, oh man. But now it's more like, well, this is probably a good thing because this needed to happen. We were probably not being the safest as safe as we could have been. And so yeah, so although OSHA can be a pain in the ass, they were ultimately a good idea just to keep us safe.
Ojipo just asked you a question on the chat.
Like grabbing stuff from H level at Tweddle. Yes. There was some shit. I mean, I was not on when Jipo and I worked together. There was one guy. There were the two. Jipo and I. We not so much in the. I at least he and I were not in one of these lifts that you can that go up to like 5 stories up to get shit off of these shelves that are all the way up there. We were on the ground labeling boxes and putting shipping labels on stuff. So it wasn't as dangerous for us, but I mean, if I remember correctly, I think Jipo was training for that position after I left. Weren't you? Didn't you like get into doing stuff, picking the high stuff? I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, those things were fucking crazy dangerous, man. I mean, you're strapped into this thing, and oh no, thank you, I'm good. I think the shelves were like 4 stories high. It was incredible.
Yeah, the ones we had were basically like they drove like a high-low.
Yeah.
And then they had like 2 forks coming off the back that we usually had a pallet on, and then the whole thing goes up.
Oh, the whole thing went up.
Yeah, because that way you could have boxes on the pallet, or you bring the boxes off the top shelves. And
no, the best we did we used to do in the brewing industry. I'll bet, man. I'll totally bet. I mean, just particularly at someplace like Bee Nectar, where they're just like fly by the seat of their pants half the time. But yeah, smaller companies like that they're always taking risks that are unnecessary. So like I said, the parade company particularly, we've gotten a lot better about stuff like that, being careful. So needless to say, I can't punch seasons. Oh, it's something else for CD. 6 stories high and swaying. That's what he was saying. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you get up to the top there, man. And if there were these special high-lows where, like, if I remember correctly, like they had like they're almost side seated, and I don't know, they're just wild, man. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'm fine just using the regular high-low and moving pallets of printed material into the trucks. I'm good with that. That's fine. But anyway, the rest of the week, it was nice having a little break. I didn't get near done what I wanted to get done. I had the plan of like getting some work done in the basement. I got a stack of comic books to put away. Working in the backyard a little bit. Didn't do fuck all. So I've got to try and get caught up on some of that stuff. I played a lot of Starfield, which I've been getting into a lot. I could talk about a little bit. The newest Bethesda game that came out last year, and it's gotten mixed reviews, but if you like Bethesda games, if you like games like that Bethesda puts out, the kind of games they put out, these long form RPGs that are really in depth and really involved, this game is really, really good. And I was watching some I was watching a couple instructional videos on YouTube today, just tips and tricks, and because there's a lot of the stuff about this game that they don't deal with. There's really no tutorial. There's a whole section about customizing the various spaceships that you can get, and you can damn near build a spaceship from scratch if you want, but there's almost no tutorial for it. So you got to figure it out on your own, and it is not easy. Same thing with building your outposts, and it's Starfield is several games all together. It's like it's a story driven RPG, but it's also a outpost and resource management, outpost building and resource management game, and in a space exploration and spaceship combat and building spaceships, and it's one of the most involved video games I've ever played. I just wish I could play it on my PlayStation, because I'm still playing it on my computer, and I'm playing it at its lowest level. So when I finally do get a better computer, hopefully this year, at the end of the year, I'll be able to play the game on some better graphically some better like levels and stuff. But I'll tell you, even on its lowest setting, it's still a beautiful game. It's the vistas, the grand vistas on all these planets and stuff when you're traveling around and going to different planets, and just the alien landscapes and some of the landscapes that look like Earth and just look amazing. It's really impressive. So I want to get off on a rant about this game, but guys, check out Starfield if you can. If it's available on Xbox and PC at the moment, and hopefully eventually it'll get released on the PS5. But that's, who knows? We're not sure yet if that's going to happen. So otherwise, the week was the week. We did game last Friday, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and that was a great session. I mean, we never have bad sessions. We just have different levels of good. So there's that, and then Monday we just got back to it, back to the grind. How about yours? So you said you were traveling around, you were going up north.
So I took Friday off from work, so I had a 4-day weekend, which was nice. And then we had our game Friday night. I mean, other than the fact that my neighborhood has it becomes a war zone around 4th of July.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, that's the thing, man. Detroit does not fuck around when it comes to fireworks, dude.
No, I wish they never made them legal. I really do. It's just ridiculous. Now, granted, at least here, people were pretty respectful. They would slow down by around 11:30 and then be done. For the most part, every once in a while you'd hear a few go off after midnight, but I was reading some people were saying that people in their area, which is still here in the same city I'm in, they were complaining that they had people next door that were partying until 3:00 in the morning with loud music, fireworks, people shouting for 3 nights in a row.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I could get bringing, I mean, when the 4th of July falls on a Thursday, you know that the rest of the weekend, that the next 4 days after that, at least, is going to be more of the same.
Yeah. Well,
but it shouldn't. I mean, there should be restrictions. There should be a level. I mean, come on, guys. The next night, I could say maybe the day before a little bit, and then the 5th a little bit, fine. But after that, no more.
It's supposed to be, the only time you can set off fireworks is 3 days before or 3 days after a holiday. It's like 2 days before, 2 days after. So it's like a 5-day period. Dude. Yeah. And yet, oh, look, it's, it's a Friday, I'm going to set off fireworks, or it's a Thursday, I'm going to do it. And yeah, as Renee said, the air was so bad on the 5th. We had super muggy air on the 4th, and everything went still that night. And the next day, the air quality levels were in the hazardous range in some areas.
Right.
In large portion to the amount of smoke from fireworks that were set off the night before. And it was still going that next morning. There was a haze in the Detroit area.
There was a serious haze. It was pretty wild, man. And it was funny, like, because people don't pay the fuck attention. Apparently there were some people that the next day, the haze that covered Detroit on July 5th, some people were starting to blame the parade company and blame the fireworks on Jefferson. The fireworks in Jefferson were the 23rd, not the 4th. That was not our fault. That was not.
It went up in the air, Russ, and it waited until the 4th, and then it sank back down.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was just funny. We talked about it a little bit at a meeting today because we had the boss bought lunch for everybody, and then we had kind of a little impromptu, kind of casual meeting, and he was talking about that. It's like, yeah, they were blaming us for that. It's like, we weren't involved. We didn't do any fireworks on the 4th of July. So,
but yeah, so my weekend was good. And then I did some painting, did some building, got all my models built for my new Seraphim Spearhead army. We'll talk about that later on too. But got that all so I did some painting. Actually, Sunday night I got back. I'm like, you know what? I actually feel like playing a video game, and so I sat downstairs and booted up Spider-Man again, and had to sit there, and it took me about 15 minutes to remember how to play because it's been months since I got into it. So
No, you're playing the first Spider-Man?
Yeah, the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I just got through the part where you actually play Miles, and he's got to sneak around the demons. But yeah, so I'm about 20 I think it said 26% when I started. I only played for an hour or two.
I'm surprised yours. I couldn't set that game down, dude. I probably beat that game, and I was playing it when I was in Florida. I think it was the last or the second to last year or something. I can't remember. Was it 19 or 20? I was playing it in Florida, and I just like if I wasn't at the Ren Fair during the week, I was playing that damn game. I was like nonstop.
Well, and I did really enjoy it when I was playing it, and I still do. It's just I got busy doing other things, and
right on,
and shit got put down. But
hard being an adult sometimes.
Yeah. Renee just said Chris doesn't really binge things. I really don't. I take my time. I enjoy them. Now the other thing is I'm spending a lot of time just swinging around town, going from spot to spot to spot. So I'm like, oh, there's a backpack over there. I'll go grab that. Oh, there's a black cat thing here. I'll go do that. Oh, look, there's a pigeon over here. I'm going to spend 3 fucking hours and want to throw my goddamn controller at the screen because I can't catch this fucking pigeon.
Yeah, those were rough. Sometimes
I finally caught my first fucking pigeon yesterday, or on Sunday.
It's the rough part. Some of those fetching, like stop and fetch kind of missions are a real pain in the ass.
Well, some of the scientific ones too, like those are tough too.
Yeah.
Some of them are easy, like swing through these clouds. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them are really easy. Yeah.
Yeah, but some of them are tough. And then I'm chasing like people down on the streets, like when the cars are moving and stuff, and there's multiple cars, and I got killed the last 2 times I did it, and I got a suit I got the black and gold suit right now, which is the bulletproof suit.
Yeah.
Or the bullet dampening suit. And I still get fucking killed.
Those. Yeah. I love all the suit variations. That's a lot of fun. Unlocking them, and you get to unlock like some of the more like rare or the ones that are like basically Easter eggs for shit that's happened in the comics, or you know, at one point you unlock like a cartoon version of Spidey, so it's a very kind of like cartoony version of him, and it's so much fun. I think that's definitely a game that I am eventually going to go back and play again. I have Spider-Man 2 on my shelf too that I am also have not gotten. It's probably going to be a while because I've been concentrating so much on Starfield lately. I've been neglecting my PS5 games lately. So
yeah. And then yesterday I had to drive up to Bay City to do work, to do the Switch replacements. So I worked until like midnight last night. Couldn't get to sleep until 1 or 2, and then was up just after 7 this morning.
Bay City, that is a long fucking drive.
That's about an hour and 45 minutes. Unless you realize when you get to Birch Run that you left your computer at home and have to turn around and come back and get it.
No fucking way.
Yeah, I had to do that yesterday. Yeah.
You got halfway?
I got over halfway. I was 45 minutes from our office.
And had to turn around?
Yep.
I would have quit. Like, fuck that. Oh my God.
Yep.
Awful. So what are you drinking?
I am drinking what I think it was Rich brought over to gaming on Friday night, which is long drink. But it's the black can long drink. This is the 8.5% long drink. It is long drink strong citrus. So it's a gin citrus drink. And if you've never had long drink, they come in like a light blue can normally. And then they've got other ones that are different flavors. Oh, Renee's having the other one. There were only 2 left. And they it's very grapefruity in flavor.
Okay.
It basically tastes like alcoholic squirt.
Alcoholic squirt.
Yeah, it
All right.
basically tastes just like the squirt soft drink. Which I always loved as a kid. And do now. So it's but yeah, this is delicious. I like this a little bit better than the blue can. Because I think that this isn't quite as sweet as the other one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's actually made with gin though. It's a gin
I
drink.
I always liked squirt too, and I never really thought of it as being a grapefruit kind of base, but I guess it is. It does have a
Yeah.
grapefruit.
Ruby red, man. Ruby red squirt.
Well, particularly the ruby red, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's a grapefruit base. Whereas Dr. Pepper's prune based and Pepsi is orange based, I think, and
Pepsi is orange based. No, Pepsi is
lemon based.
Pepsi is lemon based.
Coke is orange
Coke
based.
is orange based.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't actually taste the citrus in cola, but it is definitely, if you break it down.
But yeah, so the other long drinks that they have is they have a peach, they have a cranberry, they have a light version, but they've become really popular.
Mm-hmm.
But I like them.
Very cool.
So I definitely give this 2 thumbs up.
Right on. Well, I'm not drinking alcohol tonight. I'm doing a rockin' rum again.
Okay. Ojipo's sipping on a simple Smirnoff green apple.
Smirnoff green apple.
Yeah, so it'd probably be one of those Smirnoff drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard some good things about those. Yeah.
Coke is lemon, Pepsi's orange. Renee said. That's why Coke has a pH of 2.9.
See, I was always under the understanding that it's the opposite, because Coke tends to be a little into my flavor palette tends to be sweeter.
Oh no, Pepsi's way sweeter. I think.
You think so?
I think Pepsi's way sweeter.
What do you drink more often?
Coke
or Pepsi? Coke. See, I drink Pepsi most of the time. So I'd be willing. I'd probably trust somebody that doesn't drink cola like ever to taste them and to see
Renee just said to the internet.
To the internet.
You know, it's amazing. We've got these amazing devices right here, or even right here at our fingertips, to find things out.
Yeah. It's true. But yeah, I've always been kind of the opinion like that Coke tastes sweeter to me than Pepsi does. So, but
Pepsi has a citrus lemony flavor. The flavor of Pepsi is sweeter, so it's stronger initially, and you taste it faster.
So Pepsi does have a lemony base.
Yep. Pepsi has more sugar and caffeine than Coke. Coke is less sweet and a little bit smoother than Pepsi.
See, I'd have to. Okay.
This, they say, Coke has a vanilla raisin, almost molasses taste to it. I wouldn't say that.
Well, it's wild too, because when they started introducing these like Coke vanilla and Pepsi lemon and stuff like that, all they were doing were just enhancing, some of the base flavor notes that already existed, and they just kind of added more to it.
Yeah. Well, Coke doesn't have the thing that made it so great originally anymore.
Yeah, the cocaine.
The cocaine.
Got him. We should move on.
Thanks, government.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's see. Well,
Verner's is a nice change up.
Yes, Verner's
A&W is great, but it is A&W. You want to talk about sweet? A&W
is my favorite, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and diet A&W. I drink it all the time. As a matter of fact,
yeah, you got a fucking shit ton of it.
Yeah, I got one here. I also have a diet or a Crush Zero. sitting here.
Yeah, between Crush and A&W, you guys have like 9 cases of it in your kitchen.
when it's buy 2 get 1 free, or buy 2 get 2 free, something like that. It was yeah, make America great again. Sure, when you can give me 50's housewife drugs and put Coke back in Coke.
God damn it. Coke back in Coke. Yeah. So I don't know.
And
What
buy
are we talking
2
about
get
first?
3. That's
right on. So here's a little tidbit that I think is kind of entertaining to completely change the subject. So I'm a big fan of the Lego video games. They are a fucking blast. They're a lot of fun.
I've played some. They're pretty good. I
they're
played the Star
nice-
Wars ones. Oh, and I
the
played
Star Wars
Batman.
one. Yeah, I've played all the DC superhero ones. I have played the Star Wars ones. I actually have the newest, the Skywalker saga one, which is pretty great because it was made for the PlayStation 5. It was made for the current generation, specifically current generation. And it's not just taking the old Star Wars Legos games and redoing them. They've completely redone the game, and it's a blast, right? It's more open world, and I've played the Jurassic Park ones, which they're okay. The Incredibles ones are pretty great. So anyway, needless to say, I've played all the superhero ones. I've got Marvel and DC. They're a lot of fun. A new Lego video game coming out real soon. Lego Horizon Adventures. And it is, I kid you not, set in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West in Lego. And I'm like, I'd be here for it. I would be here for it.
That's the first time I've seen them do something like that, where they're taking another video game and making it a Lego version.
Yeah. Well, they have put out Lego Forbidden West Lego sets. Specifically, there's a tall neck, and they're pretty darn cool. I've seen a couple of them. They look pretty great. And so yeah, you play Aloy, or and the various characters that were introduced in the 2 games are in this Horizon, Lego Horizon game. I'm down, dude. I'm probably gonna look into that. Let's see. I'm having a tough time finding a date. But I've played all 3 of the Horizon games. I played the VR game that came with my PlayStation VR 2, which is strikingly good. Like, holy shit, it's really good. And it's the kind of game that will tire you out though too, because it's a lot of climbing and you're using your arms and stuff, like drawing your bow and and stuff like that. So pretty cool though. But so looks like they did a review on June 12th about it here on this webpage on Games Radar. And I'm still not seeing a date though, unfortunately. But it does look pretty cool, and it does look like you're kind of there is a lot of your kind of typical Lego gameplay type of stuff, which again, a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff. So I'm completely down. And I like the idea, like in the game, you use bits and pieces of the mechanical animals to create weapons and armor. And that's right up Lego's alley, that you're going to use bits and pieces probably from these various, robotic creatures to build other things.
Blow up into like a bunch of different Lego parts that you.
Yeah. And then you'll use those Lego parts to build other things. So anyway, Lego Horizon Adventures. And considering the fact that it is it's a relatively dark story that they're building a Lego game out of, that's pretty rough, but I'd be interested to see it. So
Batman's not exactly happy cheery.
No, but it's still a comic book, ultimately based on a comic book, and still people will still think of that as being still somewhat kid oriented.
Star Wars has some dark moments too.
Yeah, but it's not some dark. It's not post-apocalyptic. Like, people think post-apocalypse. They're like, oh, the whole world came to an end. And it is a pretty dark kind of story when you really think about it. That like technology, due to human arrogance, technology went out of control and destroyed the world, and then they did their best to try and rebuild it. So yeah.
And then the ancestors basically made themselves immortal and came back acting like gods.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I got to see. I saw that they dropped the Disney / Marvel, dropped the Agatha All Along teaser trailer.
Yeah. I'm really
It
excited actually.
it looks good. It looks like we talked about it a little bit earlier. It looks like she's still, at least at the beginning, she's going to be still kind of stuck in the TV show type thing. But now she's like a cop in a
Yeah, it was like a dark and gritty cop show.
Yeah, well, like a True Detective kind of thing or something
Right,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah. And then she winds up going back to the Agatha from the 50s sitcom, and
Yeah. You see her kind of like flashback and
yeah,
stuff.
well, she transforms into the black and white even. But yeah,
It looks like basically works her way out of the spell.
yeah, and she's going to try and she's trying to form a coven to get her power back.
Yeah, and it looks entertaining. I think I saw a few people make negative comments about it, but one, I love Catherine Hahn is hilarious. She's fucking great, and if she's going to be in something, I'm more likely to watch it. She was funny on Crossing Jordan years ago when she was quite young. She's done a lot of movies that were really, really entertaining. And so I'm down to see it. On top of the fact you also got Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, who I didn't know was in that until I saw the trailer, and I'm like,
oh yeah, I heard about it a while ago, but you got Patti LuPone, who's this, she's been around for a long time. She's a pretty well-known, particularly stage actress, but she's playing one of the witches. You got Emma Caulfield Ford, who is known as, was off. I don't know if she's a series regular, but she is reappearing. She had been in WandaVision as Dottie, and she was famous for being on. She was a cast member of Buffy.
Yeah, she was Anya.
We have we have Aubrey Plaza. It doesn't say what her character name is. They're kind of keeping that on the quiet side.
Yeah, it kind of looks like she's like an antagonist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, but then it also looks like she might be, part of the coven too. So I don't know. You got Deborah Jo Rupp is in it too, who was famously the mom from that 70s show, Mrs. Foreman. So that's going to be, I've always liked her. She's funny. I think she's going to add a level of comedy.
Yeah, Renee and I have been watching that 90s show because she's in that too.
Yeah, you just started, and yeah. I'd like to hear what your
yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So anyway, this is like an almost all female cast. There's a couple of young male characters that are in the show too, which I'm not sure, but there's rumors that one of them is playing Wiccan, right? One of Wanda's sons. So that opens up a whole nother fucking interesting thing, because they have been saying they're building towards a Young Avengers.
Yep.
And Wiccan and Speed were both were both members of the Young Avengers. So we shall see. I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll watch it. It does. It looks like it could be a good time. It's the first one they're doing that's like a continuation,
right,
of a different story, not like a season 2, but like a different story,
right.
So I'm see what happens. His first spin-off, I should say.
Right, exactly. The first spinoff of a previous show that they
A Marvel show, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes out September 18th with a 2-episode premiere.
Right. So it's kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say it's right around the corner, but it's coming closer a little bit sooner than some of this other stuff that we're going to see.
3 days after my birthday, so
Yeah.
it can take its time getting here.
Yeah. Well, we do have, I mean, the next big Marvel thing is, of course,
like 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks, Deadpool Wolverine.
Yep.
And I'm extremely excited about that. I've been trying to avoid too much in the way. I've seen the trailers, but I don't want to see too much more than just those trailers.
Yeah, and I don't even really want to see any more of the trailers because it's
Yeah,
like
me neither.
by the time the way that they're doing it, it's like I'm going to see half the movie before I.
Ryan Reynolds came out saying that this is one of the best movies he's ever made.
Well, yeah,
That's
but he's
what-
going to say that.
Of course. This is that's the other thing though too. This is not just a movie for him. This is, I mean, he co-produced it, he co-wrote it. You know, I mean, he probably had a lot of hand in the direction. of
He's
the
a
film as
marketer.
well.
He's going to always
Mhm.
say, "This is the best movie I've ever done."
Right.
Next time, this is the best movie I've ever done. Because
Right. But I do think that this is going to be an off-the-chain success. It's going to be amazing. We've seen a number of movies the last couple of weeks have done pretty well. Apparently, the new Bad Boys movie did very well. Inside Out 2 did very well.
speaking of which, actually Renee and I watched Inside Out last weekend.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard it's very, very good.
It was all right. It was cute. And I don't know, Renee. I doubt he said that Green Lantern was the best movie he's ever made.
I doubt he said that.
Speaking of which, tangent, but have you seen the stills coming from the Superman set?
Yeah.
And the Guy Gardner.
I'm here for it. I think
dude,
it's gonna.
he looks like him. They
does.
got him with the bowl cut.
It's kind of a variation because I mean,
Well, it's
there's
actually
only-
kind of parted, but it's
yeah. There's only so many ways you could do a bowl cut and not look like a complete tool. And
but he looks like Gardner.
He's not. He does. He's looking. Nathan Fillion's getting a little long in the tooth to play superheroes at this point. You know, I mean, he still looks pretty good for a man.
He wanted to play Hal Jordan for a long time because he did the voice.
And he did though, didn't he? He did on he animated in the animated.
Yeah, he did the voice. That's what I'm saying. He did the voice, but he wanted to actually He actually wanted to be Hal, and then
20 years ago he could have played Hal Jordan.
And then he wanted to be Simon Williams,
right?
And that didn't work out. So
yeah, he was in Suicide Squad. He was detachable arm, detachable limb,
detachable lad or something like that.
Detachable limb lad or something like that. And he was okay in that. But like I said, don't get me wrong. I love Nathan Fillion. I think The Rookie is one of the best cop shows ever made. I think I'm a big fan. I think he's one of my favorite actors. He's funny. He can do serious. He's great. And I think he's going to shine as Guy Gardner. No, as Green Lantern Guy Gardner.
Oh, no. I didn't know he did additional voices in Spider-Man 2.
Nathan Fillion did?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's Master Karja in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah. Yes.
Suicide Squad. He's TDK.
TDK.
Yeah. The detachable kid.
The detachable kid. That's what it is. Yeah. So anyway, I like Nathan Fillion.
I also didn't realize, because I never got through the show, that he is Simon Williams in MODOK.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't make it through that.
No, I know. After a while, it got
dumb.
Wore on me as well. It was funny. It was funny at first, and they had some, but then the jokes wore wore on. Anyway, I think that he's going to be really, really great as Guy Gardner, because Guy is definitely a very specific kind of hero, and it's going to be interesting to see He is a hero. Guy Gardner is a fucking superhero, but he's also an asshole. And
He's a super tool.
he is. But he gets the job done, and he's very like, I remember there was a comic, a Green Lantern comic, and I have it, but I'd have to find it, where they talk about where I think it's Hal Jordan talking about how each Green Lantern presents their power differently. They express the green energy differently. Like Kilowog, the one alien Kilowog, he is so powerful. His energy ring is so, his will is so strong and so powerful that his ring actually makes sounds. Like it's like this roaring energy that comes out like a wave, like a rush of water, because he's so powerful. And Guy Gardner, Guy Gardner's energy, his will is so strong, and he is so his energy is so powerful. He's almost constantly sparking with energy. Like the green energy around him is almost always like kind of like he's ready to go constantly, ready to just like get to work, get to the job, get the job done. John Stewart, his energy constructs were always extremely detailed, like because he was an architect and he saw he didn't just create like a suit of armor or a mech to fight things in. You could see every bolt and every screw and everything. He was an engineer, architect, whatever. So he created everything in his mind the way an architect would do it. And somebody like Kyle Rayner was an artist. Almost everything seemed to be like sketched or drawn or created artistically. It was a really interesting way to describe Hal Jordan describing how the energy presented in all these different characters. So it also will be very interesting to see how they present Guy Gardner as this character. The interesting thing too is that they are also showing, like, because they showed Mr. Terrific, they showed Guy Gardner, and they've shown Hawkgirl so far, and all of them have, because they're all wearing like something that says JL on it, so they're obviously members of the Justice League. But
you haven't seen that. I've just seen like actual set photos.
Yeah.
So and one of the things I was going to say though is that
like a uniform. Yeah, it's like a uniform.
At least Guy's outfit is not animated.
Animated. It's not computer generated. God damn it.
Just don't make the suit green or animated.
When they established Guy Gardner back in the 80s too, he's one of the first Green Lanterns that actually had like a part of his uniform actually looked like it was straight up clothes and not like like a superhero leotard or whatever or a superhero suit. He actually had boots that looked
Where's my super suit?
Well, he was created in the mid 80s, and he actually had boots that looked like actually kind of like moon boots. Actually, he wore a vest that had a big collar on it and like a kind of an Empire vest,
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, very cool. And his design, it was one of the first of its kind. And I'd say it was also one of because originally, like, the Green Lantern uniform was kind of universal. Everybody, no matter where you were in the universe, it was a similar design. It was the tunic that, the green down to your crotch, and then with the circle in the chest, and then white on the arms with green, with like green gloves, and then like gray elements in certain spots and stuff. And then, but then when they started to create Guy Gardner was the beginning of them saying, like, why do all the uniforms have to look exactly the same no matter what, unless it's an alien creature that's not a biped? They look exactly the same. So that was when they started thinking, well, Green Lanterns, as long as the colors are at least green in them at some point, green, black, and white, pretty much, or green, dark gray, and white. As long as those colors were utilized, the design could be whatever you wanted. And so things, definitely adjusted and changed. And when they brought Hal Jordan back, because he had died once, and when they brought him back, they also skipped in the green. Instead of the green going all the way down to his crotch, it stops at the waist, and then so he doesn't have like the jockey shorts kind of looking. Gotta get rid. But anyway, Guy Gardner in this movie, I think he's going to be great. in
Yeah.
this movie.
But back to Deadpool Wolverine. I plan on going to see that.
Absolutely, man. You and I, we gotta go do it. We should do it
Yeah,
for the show.
possibly even like that Thursday, like the opening night.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to fight an opening night. I mean, it's just
It's not like you have to fight anymore, man. You just buy a ticket.
Well, that's true. That's true. You buy a ticket, and it's not like
You assign. You pick your seat.
True. You know that every theater is gonna be full though. You know, it is gonna be.
They'll probably be closed.
Huh?
They'll probably be closed. I think tickets are actually already on sale.
I think they are actually. I think you can. They've been a while for. It's funny.
It's been a while.
I always forget about that, about how the whole reserve seat thing and how it's changed, and so yeah. Too many dragons. I would recommend Damsel movie only because not many dragon movies. Oh, the Damsel movie CD. I heard that was. It didn't get the greatest of reviews, but I heard it was still pretty cool. There's so many things right now. There's so many great movies. I really want to watch Axel F. It's been out for a week, and I just haven't
watched it.
Yeah, what did you think?
That was something I was going to figure we'd talk about, so we can talk about it now.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Now I heard, at the very least, fun.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. It's better than 3, but not even close to 1 or 2.
Okay. It's a low bar, Chris.
But I mean,
better than 3 is a low bar.
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it. I was looking up people's ages. Eddie Murphy's the youngest of that original cast that was in it.
Yeah,
at 63.
Yeah. Yeah.
Judge Reinhold is like 68, and the guy that plays Taggart is like 73.
Yeah.
But
Kevin Bacon is in the film too, and I think he's probably right around the same age as Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. It was you wound up getting that sent to the moderator there, CD, because you misspelled Rush. It didn't like tush.
And then no tush to what? No rush to what? Yeah, it's
It was fun. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Renee and I watched it over the weekend. And like I said, it was fun. It had some moments. But I mean, overall, it was it was okay. I mean, I will watch the first one and the second one over and over and over again. I'll watch them repeatedly. This one, I don't know if I'll watch it again.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still going to see it. I'm sure that I've still heard that, yes, it does pluck on the nostalgia strings a lot. Like there's a lot of like these just, it does depend on your appreciation for your love of the nostalgia to enjoy it. But like I said to Stella, I go, you probably will enjoy it. You probably won't catch all of the references, but you'll probably still enjoy it. So maybe I'll watch it later. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. Yeah, it's not a super long one.
No.
So sorry, I was
It's also called No New Ideas. All right. Well, that being said, I also last week finally watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Okay, I still haven't watched the first new Ghostbusters, Afterlife.
Now, Afterlife was super sweet. It did click. It did like pluck on those nostalgia strings as well. But this one really did. Now, Afterlife was really super cute. A lot of fun. A good movie, and Harold. It paid a lot of tribute to Harold Ramis, which was great because he had died like soon before, like a couple years before this movie had been made. And his son was very much involved with the making of Afterlife, which he was also involved with this one. This one, they're back in New York. They're back in the old firehouse, which is a character in itself, damn near. There's and there it's just chock full of nostalgic characters. I mean, it brings back everybody, all the surviving members of the Ghostbusters, including Janine.
By the way, for Deadpool and Wolverine over at the 15 over there by you, there's plenty of seats for all of the shows.
Oh, okay.
They're showing it like every 15 minutes.
Right, yeah.
And
But
on
I
Thursday night.
guarantee
But like
there's
this
gonna be
one,
a
like
lot
the
of
8
fallout
o'clock
there.
show, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seats that are taken. That's it.
Oh, well, that's surprising. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure as it gets closer, those seats are going to start selling out.
Yeah, probably.
But anyways, Slimer is in the movie. I mean, and they very much set the whole movie up to be the beginning of a new series of movies. You know, I was even going to say it was very much like they were passing the torch, but at the same time, it was like, well, they're kind of passing the torch, but at the same time, they're setting it up for sequels and stuff, but they're also not necessarily retiring the original Ghostbusters either. You know, like Dan Aykroyd's character, it's not Venkman,
Right.
Ray Stantz is still like kind of active. He's got a supernatural shop in, you know, that caters to supernatural stuff in New York City. He is, you know, Winston Zedmore is like, as a successful businessman that is kind of funding everything. And I mean, yes, they're kind of getting ready to pass it on, but at the same time, not quite, you know. And it was fun, entertaining film. It wasn't as good as the previous, you know, revisitation, but it was still a blast. And just fun, funny, ghostbustery goodness. Now the problem is it didn't do as well as they would have liked. It still made money, and from what I understand, it made its money back. It wasn't a failure, but it wasn't as successful as they would have liked. And it's calling into question as to whether the studio will want to continue making Ghostbusters movies, because the special effects were very expensive and the cast was very expensive. Because you're looking at, you know, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and you know, the guy who played Winston, Ernie Hudson. You got Annie Potts. You got Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is not cheap. You know, you got all these actors. You got Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. Yeah, all these actors that are like pretty, you know, if not up and coming, are pretty well established. So they're saying that the cast was fairly expensive and the special effects were fairly expensive. If they do go forward with the Ghostbusters, they're going to have to figure out ways to trim that budget down. Now, I was thinking is I would love to see a Ghostbusters movie where it's not necessarily the end of the world, because again, it's in every Ghostbusters movie so far, it has been a we've got to stop the apocalypse from happening kind of thing. And I would
see like a poltergeist version.
Well, like something a little more personal.
Little girl goes missing, goes into the TV, and you got to go find her. Go into the light.
Not quite like that, but something where it's like maybe they're stopping like a local thing that's pretty rough, you know, like a haunting or a, you know, there's some sort of where it's just a little more local.
As long as they don't make the Statue of Liberty move again, that just.
The cool thing is they definitely like they reference in this new movie. They also reference like everything that's come in the past. Like they actually do even reference moving, you know, the last time when they moved the statue, they made the Statue of Liberty walk, you know, or whatever.
That was so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That movie was entertaining up until that point.
It definitely was probably the most unbelievable. And I think that was one of the things that made Bill Murray go, what the fuck? because Bill Murray was not happy with the end result of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, Renee said, hard to top bringing the Titanic to port.
That's also true. The Titanic just showed up. Yeah. Jeepo, you didn't like the big bad in Ghostbusters 2 or in Frozen Empire? Because in Frozen Empire, the big bad was pretty scary.
In Ghostbusters 2, I mean, it was Vigo.
Vigo.
The Carpathian.
Chris McNichol was pretty funny. I mean, he had some really funny lines.
Is it Chris? I didn't think that was his first name.
Yeah, it's Christopher McNichol.
Okay.
Like, why am I vaping this goo?
Who's the little guy? He's yours, Ray. Get him.
Get him.
It's one of my favorite lines in that movie. It's like, no, stop. You can't be. Who's the little guy? He's yours, Ray. Sick him.
I like it. Mr. Wangling, why have you come? I mean, you're not supposed to come. Why are you here? You know, just that and apparently that accent, he just made it up whole cloth. It's just like some random, you know, he's like, he goes, Yanni, where are you from? The Upper West Side? You know? that weird little accent of his. I like Ghostbusters too. I mean, overall, I mean, like I said, I've often said I'm an easy audience, but
I liked it up until about the last 20 minutes when the whole Statue of Liberty thing.
Was kind of, it was pretty goofy. So,
and then getting all of New York to sing together. And that's what beat it.
It beat the bad guy with good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do, man? So anyway,
so I plan on going.
Man. Oh yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine, we'll definitely see that. Let's try and make some plans.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, though, you told me about this one because I hadn't seen the preview or the trailer. Gladiator 2 is coming.
Gladiator 2. Yes.
My question for that is why?
Well, Gladiator was strikingly successful.
So that doesn't, just because a movie was successful, and this is something I think Hollywood needs to get the fuck away from, is not every movie needs a fucking sequel.
I agree. But this movie is being done by the original creator, Ridley Scott.
I don't care.
And if there was 2000 is when the first one came out. If the original writer director is involved, then I'm more likely to be supportive of it and be willing to check it out. Gladiator was a really good film. I mean, there's no denying Gladiator was a good movie. It won multiple Oscar awards. It was
now, I'm not arguing that it was a good movie, but Oscars doesn't always equal. That means that the Academy and those people liked it, but
okay. So now I will agree with you on that, but I mean, if a movie wins an Oscar, more often than not, it is a good movie. Whether you like it or I like it is immaterial, because it is voted on by experts in their field. This isn't like this.
Again, it's subjective, and we've had this argument before. You're not going to change my mind. Well,
let me finish. People still vote on it. It's still voted on by a group of experts, and when a big group of experts basically agree that a movie is good, I gotta at least lean on the fact that quantifiably that movie is probably good. Whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, that is a subjective part of it. That's where your opinion may come into play. But if it wins an awards that 200 people get together and vote and say this is a good movie, I gotta at least lean on the opinions of the experts. That's why
I don't, because art is subjective.
Yeah, but that's also why we have
objective
critics, and that's why we have
Doesn't
experts
matter.
in their
It's
field.
it's personal opinion. Anything that is art is personal opinion. If I say that's not a good movie, I don't care how many awards it's won. To me, it's not a good movie, and I will
Yeah,
not
but
say
then you
it's a good
also,
movie.
but that's the thing though, Chris.
I can say it's a critically acclaimed bad movie.
See, I can't agree. I got to say, I mean, I
And I
think
know you
that,
can't.
I mean,
We've had this argument before, and you're not going to change my mind on it. It's the same thing with art. It's the same thing with music. It's the same thing. I mean, it's all anything that is artistic is completely objective. It is in the eye of the beholder, and
yes.
it can have all the accolades that it wants. If I don't like it, it's a bad movie to me. I don't care how many awards it won.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think then that if that's the case, though, you should also say bad movie to me because you can't. I feel like you're
No,
not doing the work of art any kind of justice by just going fuck that. That's awful. When it is something that has won unbelievable amounts of awards. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to what were the awards? It won best
generally,
directing.
I will say I think something is a bad movie. It's like it won a bunch of awards, but I think it's a bad movie. That's usually how I preface it, but it doesn't matter. I'm not arguing that Gladiator was not a good movie because I thought it was a good movie. It's not one I can watch over and over again because I don't need to see it again and again and again. But it was a good movie. It's also just very long and slows down too much at points. But
Interestingly enough, it had this was made in 2000. It had $103 million budget. 103 million. For that time, pretty substantial,
yeah,
but not
that was a big budget.
crazy, right? It's a big budget, but not insane, right? But still a big budget. Nowadays, $100,000 movie, $100 million movie would be considered like modest, right?
Yeah,
Middle
that's
to
not
modest.
even a Marvel movie.
Right. Well, it might be. I mean, like the first Captain Marvel movie, the first Shazam movie was $80 million and made something like $350 million. So it did really
Yeah,
well.
and the biggest name in it was Zachary Levi, who wasn't
Right,
exactly
exactly.
a $10 million
No,
signing.
he probably made probably like between 2 and 5 million probably to do that movie. But now its opening weekend was almost 35 million.
Yeah,
So
and
it
that's when
made
people were
almost
still
its
going to the
third.
movies.
Right. It made almost a third of its budget back just the opening weekend. Its gross worldwide, its gross in the US and Canada was 187 million. And the gross worldwide was 465 million. 465 million, particularly 20 years ago for the gross worldwide, was holy shit, extremely like crazy. I mean, that's good numbers now. And that was 20 years ago. See, that's the other thing that lends me credence to certain things too. If a movie is successful monetarily, we're talking specifically movies when it comes to that too. That also lends to my opinion and as to
yeah,
whether it's a good movie or not.
And
Because
we've had that discussion before
this
because I
discussion
think
too.
Avatar is shit.
Yeah, but if enough people go to see it that it makes that amount of money,
It
you
means a
got to
bunch of
take
people
that
like
into
bad
account as
movies.
well.
I can't help that.
I'm trying to
Dude,
find
we don't need to rehash this argument because you're not going to change my mind on it.
No, I know. I'm just trying to find the.
Yeah, Renee said art is objective. I saw art at MoMA that I think is garbage in the most literal sense, garbage.
Sure.
It actually was a pile of garbage that had been rearranged.
I've seen that, yeah, that kind of stuff too. Now that kind of art, fine art is a little bit different because it's less consumed by the masses now. Back 100 years ago, 250 200 years ago, it was one of those things that people were like, the public was a lot more involved with, like, oh, this artist is painting these pictures, and they went to the museums and stuff like that. Now
because they didn't have the moving pictures, they only had this.
Right, exactly. Now the opiate of the masses is television and movies, and so that's why things like movies and television and some levels music as well they're consumed by such a more readily available audience that it's a greater example of the whole idea as to, you know, what is good, what is bad when it comes to that kind of thing. The art is, fine art and graphic art and those kinds of things. The printed art is held up, I think, with a finer microscope when it comes to, you know, what is art, because it's also not consumed financially by as many people. You know, there's a lot of people out there that'll spend ridiculous amounts of money on art that's just like, what the fuck? Because of the artist, because of what a bunch of critics say, because somebody basically says, "Ooh, that's so it's so avant-garde, it's so so changing, it's so whatever."
Yeah.
And it's like, as an artist, as a professional artist, I've run into that a number of times where I just see stuff that's just like, dude, what is
it's a white canvas with a red line down it, and it's like it's anger.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
DIA, what you just described, but opposite. It's a red field, a red canvas with a white line down the center.
And somebody put tape down the middle, painted the whole rest of the canvas, peeled the tape off, and
it's not even like different values of red. It's not even. It's just it's one shade.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So,
or the people that take like paintbrushes and just spatter in random things. Well,
yeah, that was essentially Jackson Pollock created that whole splatter painting kind of thing. And there's evidence to well, I mean, there's merit to some of that art in that it's an exploration of color and design and how one lays color and things like that. But at the same time, when you're trying to
I can do that.
Convince, right? Yeah, you're trying to convince and evoke a certain level of emotion and put all that stuff into these paintings and stuff. And it's like, look, the dude just took paint and threw it at the canvas. It doesn't have. It's not necessarily going to be this painful expression of emotion. You know,
it's like when they taped the banana to the wall.
You're right.
That became a huge thing because people were doing that all over the place. They're like, just tape a banana to the wall. Now I got fine art on my wall.
That was the stupidest thing. There was a guy that interestingly enough, there was a guy that made these lifelike statues, amazing, lifelike, incredible statues. You couldn't tell from at first glance. You could not tell that this was a statue because it's made out of silicone, and he put silicone skin, and he hand injected the hairs and every, and the mustache, everything. And he made a statue of this, of basically a security guard just kind of standing against the wall like this. And people did not know that it was a piece of art, and part of that was the experiment of what is, of what is art, and what people perceive to be art. Now, was that thing particularly artistic? No, it was strikingly skilled, though. Like the detail involved of making that piece was unbelievably impressive because he had to sculpt it, he had to create it, he had to, he had to create all of the texture and put the hair in and everything else. And then, I mean, it strikingly detailed.
Yeah. So, hey, Wicked Kendra just came on, said my crypto monkey beanie baby NFT is gonna make me rich one day.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Now you got these NFTs, which I think is the biggest scam in the fucking world.
Yeah. The fact that Donald Trump got involved with them,
that tells you it's a scam.
One example. Yeah. Along with his golden shoes,
Yeah.
And
you don't hear him hawking the golden sneakers anymore.
Yeah.
Hell, I don't even think anybody bought his Bibles because he's not hawking those anymore either.
Not hawking those either. And the thing about that stuff, a lot of the NFTs were AI art.
Yeah.
As well. So it's just like, not only are you buying an image or the rights to an image, or I don't know, whatever the fuck it was, but you're not even buying something solid and tangible. You're buying an image that wasn't even created by a human.
And was probably stolen from other images that are on the internet.
Like most AI, particularly at that time, was all stolen imagery. That's why
it would take like the eyes from this and the nose from this and put them all together to make something different.
Now, the real drag about it is some of the stuff that these AI generators make are really cool looking. There's some really. How many times have you saw some clickbait where it's like Game of Thrones, but in the 1950s, or hey, the Simpsons characters, but if they looked like real humans, Batman, but all but all the characters from the Batman movies, but in Victorian age, things like that. You see these really cool like images. And I'm like, Star Wars, but if Tim Burton made it,
or as samurai, or
yeah.
That was one I saw recently. Was like Vader as a samurai with the stormtrooper samurai.
Harry Potter, but they're superheroes, whatever, I've seen some really, really interesting imagery, but at the same time, I'm like, all it's doing is stealing from these other images and recreating them in a new form. And the worst part about it is the AI is getting better.
Yeah,
it's not taking very long. Remember when it first came out and couldn't get hands right?
Yeah,
right.
You think we can get a AI to redesign the Detroit sign? Maybe we'll get a better one.
I drove by that. It's actually not as bad as you might think.
Oh, dude, I drive by it all the time.
Yeah, I drove
daily
by it,
or weekly, I should say.
Yeah.
But Renee brought that up. He said, "Hey, Detroit sign off of 94."
Yeah. Do you drive? Have you driven by it when it's lit up, or just during the day?
No, during the day.
It's actually lit up at night. It's actually kind of cool looking.
I still don't think it was worth.
It would have been night.
Okay, no, so give it a year.
If it was, exactly.
When they no longer take care of the media in there like they're doing now, and half the lights are burned out, and now it's OIT, or OIT, or D-IT.
Dito.
Yeah, D-IT, something like that.
It'll be Dieter.
Yeah, Dieter.
Or Reut. It'll be Reut.
Right, yeah.
Right. So anyway, and that's the other thing, man. The AI is learning, and that's the frightening thing, man. I mean, as much as I appreciate the sci-fi element of the idea of AI and things like that, it's also a scary fucking thing.
Yeah, you're right. It'll look like the golden butthole.
Exactly. So NFTs are another thing that's just like, oh god.
You want a robot apocalypse? Because this is how you get a robot apocalypse.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got sidetracked there. Gladiator 2 comes out in November. Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal.
Do we need a sequel? No. Did we want a sequel?
No. But they're going to shove one down our throat.
And I'll bet it's probably going to be good because Ridley Scott does not make bad movies.
So now one of the things that I saw in there, and you said that you had actually heard that they actually did this at one point, but they show them filling the Coliseum with water to do a water battle. And when they shoot somebody over the side, there's a fucking shark in the water. That to me, talk about jumping the shark with a literal fucking shark.
I don't think they ever actually try to put a shark because I mean, if this happened in Rome, you got to transport a shark across from the water to Rome. Rome is not next to the ocean, So
I thought it was. I thought it was a seaport town.
I don't think Rome is actually on the ocean. Is Rome?
No, I guess it's maybe not. No, it's not. It is landlocked. It's close to the ocean, but it's not.
It's about 15 miles inland.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible, I guess, to put a shark in a big tank and in ancient Rome, I suppose. But from what I understand, actually that did happen. One of the Roman emperors was able to get them to be able to flood the Colosseum at least at a certain level, and they recreated battles on.
Emperor Titus ordered the new Colosseum to be flooded.
Yep. Okay.
They used special flat-bottom ships during the battle to accommodate for the shallow water.
Mm-hmm.
He even replicated the battle between Athens and Syracuse.
I knew, ancient history classes in college were not wasted. Anyway, it looks from the trailer, it does look like it's going to be an exciting film. I don't.
You got a Joffrey-esque young emperor. It looks like that.
All right, you got Joseph Quinn playing Emperor Gaeta, who is Joseph Quinn was in Stranger Things. He was in Overlord. He played Eddie Munson in Stranger Things. He's going to be playing upcoming. He's in the new Fantastic Four movie as Johnny Storm. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. We got. No.
That's why he looks familiar.
Yeah. But he looks like he's wearing a lot of makeup.
Oh yeah, he's got his face is all pale because I mean that's he looks the part of the emperor.
Connie Nielsen has returned as Lucilla from the first movie. You got Pedro Pascal as Marcus Acacius, maybe, I don't know. Denzel Washington as Macrinus. Paul Mescal as Lucius. You got Fred Hetchinger as Emperor Caracalla. Rory McCann is Tegula, and Rory McCann was in Game of Thrones. He was the Hound.
Oh,
yeah,
Yarp.
A lot of people don't go catch that reference. Derek Jacobi is playing Gracchus, who is also in Gladiator, the original. There's a lot of characters, a lot of actors here that in the cast here that have not, they haven't said the names and whatnot. So, but
I mean, it looks like it could be good. It's going to be a good fantasy flick.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, excited to check that out eventually. I don't know if I'll go to the theater to see it. Like I said, I am kind of a little more careful as to what I see at the theater these days. But I'm sure I'll check it out when it goes to some kind of streaming service.
It's one of those movies where I'm like, it's a type of movie that I feel like you should see on a big screen.
Right.
But is it really going to be that different? I mean, other than the sound,
right?
When I watch it on my big screen TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not big on IMAX CD because it cuts off the sides. To make it that big, they have to cut off parts of the sides, so it's completely different in the way that it's shown and shot, and at times they actually have to do like pan and scan, which sucks.
If it's filmed for IMAX,
then
specifically, then I'm like, yes, for sure.
Yeah, because they'll center everything.
Right. From what I understand, the first Avatar film was filmed with the intent of making sure that it was maximized for IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, it was really cool to see it on that kind of thing. Let's see. Moving along though. So that movie to be interesting. That's the other thing too. 20 years ago, people were like, these are movies you have to see in the theater, like the Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah, but we didn't have Ultra HD and 4K and TVs that show detail better than the human eye can see.
No, we did have HD TVs back then, but they were extremely expensive. Like I'm thinking to myself, okay, when I was 30, an HD television, like flat panels were around, but they were expensive, and they weren't the flat panels we have now. They were thick. They were still kind of thick. Like I bought a flat panel TV, and
they were either plasma or LCD back then. They weren't LED.
Right. Well, I was 30. Oh, wait, no. That's actually no. That came a couple years later. I think I was like 32 or 33, and I bought my first like LCD flat panel television. But even
LCD was thicker. LED is what we have now, and those are much thinner. because they don't also
It
don't
was like
generate as much
it was
heat.
like a 4-inch thick television. You know, it
Well,
wasn't.
and
It wasn't
like
like
yeah, and like the plasmas were like 4 to 6 inches because they had to have the fans because they were fucking hot and they
right.
weighed a ton.
They're really heavy. Yep. Yep. And
And
although if I remember
they were
correctly, the
horrible
picture
for video
was,
games.
yeah, but if I remember correctly, the picture was really good.
Yep,
In those
plasma had better picture than LCD.
Yeah.
But they were highly susceptible to burn-in.
Mhm. So yeah. So I mean, and that was the thing, man. You know, when TVs started getting a lot cheaper, like they are now. Yes, the picture quality improved a great deal, but the quality of the television itself went down. That's why if you get a TV that is, you know, you get like a 65-inch TV for like $500-600 now. If it lasts you 5-6 years, you're doing pretty good because these smart TVs and everything, you know, whatever. Because I had a flat panel TV that a friend of mine, like a former roommate, had left here, and it lasted for a while, and then I ended up having to get it repaired. And the guy at the TV shop was like, "Hang on to this TV for a while because as long as you can, because this is a good television, and it was made back when they still gave a shit."
Well, and that's the thing. So like I had a TV, an LCD, lasted me about 4 or 5 years, and the power supply went.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually called the repair shop, and they're like, "Just get rid of it. Just buy a new one. It'll be cheaper to buy a new one than for me to fix it."
Yeah, or at the very least, it'll cost me half of what the TV is valued.
He basically told me it would probably be about the same. At the best, it would be about the same. He's like, and I guess this was a known problem with this particular brand of TVs. There were a lot of them that were the power supplies went after about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's the thing, we're in a disposable society now. Things are actually made to only last a few years and then crap out. It's not like, you know, you could, if you had a refrigerator from the 70s, that thing's still running.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It can say, I mean, like my parents were all my mother, because I have to get my washer and dryer both looked at. I mean, they're both still working, but they're just not working as well as they should be. And my mom was like, "Well, listen, if you should probably just get a new one and just get." I'm like, my mother, you know, and because they are older washer and dryers. I inherited them from my mom's friend, and they weren't brand new when I got them. They were probably 10 years old at least when I got them 10 years ago. 12 years ago when I moved into this house. But I'm like, they still work. I mean, if it costs me $200 for that, for me, for the guy to come out and for them to get fixed, it's still worth it to me, as opposed to spending $800 on a couple of new ones. You know, I'm fine with that. But my mother was all like, you know, maybe you should just get some new ones. Maybe you should. Like, I ain't got that kind of fucking loot sitting around, you know? and on top of it too, I'm not a big fan of the throwaway culture that we've got. You know, I don't like the fact that every 4 or 5, if you get 5 years out of one of these bad boys, you're doing real good.
Dude, I've never had a phone for 5 years. I've had this one for almost 3 now. And I'm like, oh, hey, I didn't realize it, because this one is the first one that I actually haven't wanted to get rid of in 2 years.
Sure. Stella has a Galaxy 9 that she has had for roughly like 5 to 6 years now, and it still works. It still works pretty good too. It's not, the battery is still holding up pretty well. She dropped it recently and cracked. There's a little crack in the corner right here now, and I'm like, and when Androids are not like iPhones where you can spider web a crack across the screen and it'll still work. If you get a crack in a lot of it, like the Galaxies, particularly a bad one, like go across. I had one that went across and it lasted me a day. Like
see, I had one that went. I had one that went like up and around, and it lasted me for a month before I actually replaced it, because it was it was all spider webbed in the corner. So like I dropped it and I didn't have a case like this on it. It fell out of my pocket. It hit like on this bottom corner, and it spider webbed here, and then there was one big crack like right here. It still
Yeah.
worked. It's just
See,
I
when
couldn't
I
read
took
things real well because of the spider web.
yeah.
But
Well, I took my when that happened, I tried to get my phone fixed because it had only been like I think it was only like 2 or 3 years old. It was still, I mean, I figured I still had a little time on that one, and the guy at the shop was like, and I said to him, I go, I know people with iPhones that are going to work, we've been using an iPhone for 2 years that have their screen is horribly cracked, and they're like, iPhones are different. iPhones are different from Androids. They do not. It's something about how way they're built or whatever else. He goes, they don't. A lot of Androids, a lot of models of Android phones. They if you crack the screen, they're done.
Hmm.
And I was like, and that was another thing. I was like, what if you replace the screen? He goes, $350 to replace the screen on this one. I'm like, $350. I might as well just go get another phone, you know? So that's what we did. And I hated it. I hate the fact that a computer, thankfully, with a lot of computers, you can swap out parts and pieces and stuff. You can swap out hard drives and memory and video cards and stuff like that. And you can get extra time out of out of a computer. But if you got to swap out the motherboard or the processor, at that point you might as well just get a new computer, because swapping out a motherboard or a processor, it's pretty much a new computer.
Well, it is, because you got to take everything out anyway. So
yeah. So, but but the thing is, as long as we recycle as much as we can, then that's fine. But at the same time, but that's the thing. I mean, a lot of the times these things just go right into the landfill. That TV that I was talking about, the one that the guy said, I should have it repaired as long as I can. It finally died, and it's in my basement. It's been in my basement, sitting off to the side, because I'm like, I don't want to just set it out to the curb and have it tossed into the fucking garbage truck. I want to have
some scrapper would grab it. But there was actually a recycling event at the zoo a few months ago. And Renee and I filled the back of her car with a bunch of electronics that we'd had sitting around, that because we weren't going to just put them out to the curb.
Yeah.
We were waiting to figure out where we could take them, because there's a place over here that technically you can take them, but it's a scary ass place to go into. And
sure.
But yeah, so I heard about that, and Renee's like, let's go. And so we threw like 2 big boxes full of stuff along with some other stuff in the back, and we pulled up. They pulled them all out and separated them out into what was what, and they were basically wrapping everything up as they had bins, and they're like, okay, monitors go in this one, printers go in this one, this goes in this one, and then they just saran wrap them.
Yeah.
And then they were putting them in the back of trailers.
Right, and then they're sent to some kind of plant that will, disassemble them and or break them apart and take out the parts that are recyclable. But
we put the back seats down in her CRV and filled the entire back.
You still got to wonder though, how much of that is actually being recycled? How much of it? I mean, are they taking up these? Or take these, and they'll pop out the precious metals out of it, and then the rest just goes into a landfill.
Yeah,
you gotta wonder like how much of that plastic is actually being recycled. I mean, like there are these machines now at the mall. I saw one at the mall where you can take your old phones and tablets, and it'll scan it, and then it'll give you a price for it, and then it's just like a fucking kiosk. It'll give you a price for old phones and old electronics. And I was just like, I happened to be walking by, and the guy was like changing out the money or whatever. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really wild. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? And he was like telling me a little bit about the machine and stuff. And I'm just like, well, I guess I know where to go when I need to recycle. I got like 3 or 4 old, smartphones that
I got a bunch in my closet in here.
Yeah.
That I haven't recycled.
Because
but we should move on.
Yeah, we should. But it's just wild,
because we're coming up on like an hour and 40 minutes. So
there's also a couple of things here. We got Marvel's What If season 3 is coming in December.
Yep. Looking forward to that.
They're saying that it is essentially Disney Plus December 22nd. They're saying that essentially Disney's What If season 3 will round out what is essentially a trilogy.
Yeah. I've heard that too.
I'm like, cool. Now Disney has also said, we might be done after season 3 with What If, which is a shame because it's genius.
Well, there's actually talk that they're going to be doing a what if Star Wars.
Right. I had heard that as well.
Like,
now that would be cool.
What if Anakin never went to the dark side? What if,
Right.
What if
Leia joined the dark side?
Or what if Luke joined Vader? That type of thing. Those types of what ifs. Hey, what if we didn't fuck up Star Wars? Yeah. What if Kathleen Kennedy was never hired at Star Wars or at Lucasfilms?
It's definitely a pretty cool thing. They've done a few. I think they made some comic books of Marvel.
What if we followed the San novels?
Makes me so sad.
What if Mara Jade was actually a character in the Star Wars universe?
Chris, I don't understand. I mean, like, these studios are so ridiculous. There's so much resources.
That's the thing.
Where they could be making. I mean, the Star Wars novels, dozens and dozens of Star Wars novels that they could have made movies out of. The Zahn novels alone, those 3 novels that came out, that were some of the best post Star Wars shit post Jedi shit I've ever seen.
Yep.
I remember reading those books and just being like, my God, they're so good. And even the ones that came right after it, the Jedi Academy trilogy, I've got them up there right there. They were also quite good. Why are we making Dungeons and Dragons fucking movies that have, granted, it took place in the Forgotten Realms, but why did we not make a Dragonlance movie? Why did they not make the Avatar trilogy or the Moonshot or the anything with Drizzt Do'Urden? Why did they have to go and make something new when they've got these books that are amazing, that they could have all of this? Look at all of this shit behind me.
Yeah. Come on, they could have done Drizzt and they could have had Driders.
It would have made CD's day. But yeah, I mean, God damn. I mean, yes, we do have Game of Thrones, and and that was a very successful thing, but they also went beyond the books, and they ended up having to
they wrote the end for him.
They wrote an ending for him.
CD just gave us 100 bits for 100 cheer. Thanks, CD.
Thanks, CD.
Driders for life.
I gotta admit, I've always appreciated the Drider. I've always liked Centaurian types of characters.
Yeah, like the lion centaur I always thought was cool. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, the Wemic.
Is that a Wemic?
Wemic.
Okay.
Wemic.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. I wanted to play one of those but when they first introduced those in the Monster Manual 2 or whatever it was, I'm like, I want to play one of those.
Let me see. D&D. See, is it in the D&D 5e? It's not in the D&D 5e, but somebody made it back in 14. Somebody did make it, but it's been created apparently.
Yeah, and CD does point out that there are 40 Drizzt novels now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, man. There's if you look up images, there's images of Wemics. But yeah, I remember creating a character like that for I think it was a one shot that a friend.
Oh yeah, there we go. Dragon Riders of Pern.
Dragon Riders of Pern. Perfect. That I just don't understand
why Xanth movie.
Why they haven't farmed some of these amazing ideas and concepts that are and book series that are already there.
Yeah. Now
they talk about there's nothing new in Hollywood. Well, you have barely plumbed the depths of the fantasy book series that are out there.
So instead of giving us what is arguably the favored trilogy of all of them, for any of the Star Wars books in the Timothy Zahn series, the Heir to the Empire series, that trilogy of books may be the most popular trilogy of Star Wars out there.
I'd have to agree.
So instead of giving people that, Yeah, you'd have to pay Timothy Zahn some money. You know how much you would make on that? I mean,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
not? Okay, yeah, you got to recast because the cast is too old now. But
And I think that was the thing that they feared the most was the idea of recasting some of the best.
and I think that was part of it. But the thing is that with that, we would have also gotten one of the most popular female characters in the Star Wars universe in Mara Jade, and one of the coolest, to be honest.
Yeah. Plus, you would have seen ultimately
And
a relationship build between Luke and Mara Jade, which
Right.
is something that fans have wanted for a long time. Was Luke having a relationship?
But what I was going to say though is, so instead we get Rey
Right.
and whiny bitch Ben and Poe the mutineer
Yeah.
and Finn, who I don't know why I'm even in this movie.
And he's even upset about those. You know, he's upset about the fact that he was underutilized. They made it. They when they did the promotional stuff for it, they made it look like he was a big deal, and he wasn't. He ended up
Superfluous
not-
Finn.
Yeah, and it was like it was sad, in all honesty. Like why was this guy in these movies? He was barely utilized. You know, I don't know. They made such bad decisions.
Well, and it was just the whole writer director changes between movies and Ryan Johnson. I'm not going to get into Ryan Johnson and all that,
Please
but
don't.
just Ryan Johnson not deciding he needed to do something different.
Yeah.
And basically changing directions. I mean, it was a right turn.
Yeah.
It's like JJ did a love letter to New Hope.
Yep.
With the first one. That's basically what it was. It was an homage. Completely.
Yep.
I joke around that it was the same movie because it kind of was. It was an homage.
It was an homage for sure.
But then for what's his nuts, Ryan Johnson, to take that and go, nah, I'm gonna go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you set it up this way for it to go. No, I'm gonna go this way.
Well, he did a serious disservice.
He did. And then JJ came back and tried to get it back on track, but it was a force. It got forced back. And I think that, honestly, I think they need to just say, you know what? We made a mistake. We're making those legends now, and we're bringing everything else back to canon. Yeah. And we're going to rethink where we're going in the future. That's what I think they need to do.
Yeah.
They need to stop. They don't need to double down and give Rey more movies.
No.
Which is what they're doing.
I'm like, she's getting a movie. I personally do like the fact that they have integrated some of the Timothy Zahn like stuff in, thanks to Ahsoka, with Grand Admiral Thrawn and stuff like that. But,
yeah, well, that's all Filoni.
It's too little, too late now.
Well, and that's the thing. Now Filoni's the creative director,
right?
Exactly. So they've put him in charge, but it's too little, too late, and all this other stuff that's coming out was already there before he got his say.
Yep. We should probably start wrapping things up.
Yeah, we got more D&D stuff dropped. We won't go into it now. I'm gonna try finishing up the monk stuff. One of the big things,
monk and sorcerer was
monk and sorcerer. Now, one of the things, so Klimbrum's gonna love this. Well, we're not gonna be going to this, but in the new monk, the warrior of the shadow, because they're no longer way of, it's now warrior of. But warrior of the shadow, now not only can they drop darkness, but they can see through their own darkness.
I always thought that was dumb.
Which is huge, because
you can summon darkness. Why would you not be able to see through the darkness?
That's the whole point, though, is that magical darkness, there are almost... Oh, yeah, the Ranger came out, too. I haven't watched that one yet.
I actually listened to that one yesterday.
But yeah, like that's one of the big things for like warlocks is you get devil sight.
Right.
You can see in magical darkness, because that's one of the biggest things with magical darkness is almost nothing can see in it. Unless you have blind sight or true sight, or tremor sense, those types of things, you cannot see in it.
Interesting. So speaking of the Ranger, though, they definitely the guys, because they've got Todd Kendrick hosting these, and Todd Kendrick's talking to the main guy and stuff.
Yeah,
That they
Perkins.
put a lot of this Perkins, and
Or
Perkins
not
like
Perkins. Crawford.
no, it's not Perkins. Yes, they said that the Ranger has had so many changes that's almost a damn new character.
So they said that today with the monk, and they basically said that the monk, like the ranger, is essentially a brand new class.
Yeah, yeah. They said because like if you played, he said if you've played a Ranger in the last 10 years, or even going back to previous, you're gonna notice like a lot of changes, like striking amounts of changes. So I'm like, okay, I played a Ranger in Ed's campaign before, and I like Rangers. I've actually considered maybe trying to do, maybe the next time I get a chance to play a new campaign, I might make another Ranger.
Well, and that's the thing. So Bob Grimbolt played
Mm-hmm.
the ranger, and he got him up to like 9th level, and he's like, I have no reason to go farther. There's nothing going forward that makes the ranger any better, really.
Right. I mean, there's probably more spells. Rangers get spell casting. There's probably some things, but yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, I mean, you definitely do get more power, but I can't remember.
You
There's
don't get a
nothing that
lot, though.
jumps out and screaming about. I mean, it's just I don't know.
But
I need to look at the Paladin one again.
yeah, I gotta watch that one again. But yeah, I'm interested. I mean, that comes out in September as well, the Player's Handbook. So
Right.
I want to see how that
Like I
how
was
that
saying
goes.
before, I would think, like I was saying at the last week or a game or whatever, I think this may be one of the first times that I actually will like sit down and more or less, I may not read it cover to cover, like I'll read every single spell and
Mhm.
whatever, but I probably will actually spend a lot of time actually reading the Player's Handbook, because over the years
Yeah, at least the
I've
class
bought
stuff.
them. Right, yeah, exactly. I've bought them, and you page through it, you look at what you want to look at, like when you're gonna like, particularly when you're an experienced gamer who has been playing it since he was 8. You have a good idea. Okay, well, I know what a warrior does, I know what a cleric does, I know what a mage does. So, but when you pick up the Player's Handbook, you're going to look at the specific thing you want to look at the time. Like, I am going to create a paladin, I'm going to read the paladin section. Oh, I need to know about these weapons and this armor and this game mechanic, and you look that up specifically. I think I may end up actually reading the whole damn thing at some point, because there are so many changes. So anyway, yeah, that is, it's pretty cool. We were going to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, we'll
in depth.
we'll talk more next week on it. Yeah, CD just said, speaking of movies, in the theater, Princess Mononoke is in the theater for the 25th anniversary, July 13th through 17th.
Wow. I've never been a big Studio Ghibli guy. I mean, just because I'm not a big anime guy, but
I've never seen any of those.
I've never seen it either. So
I've never seen Mononoke. I haven't seen Howl's Moving Castle. I haven't seen
I shoot
Ponyo.
magic missiles at the darkness. Thank you, Wicked Kender.
The movies are great. You're not a nerd. I can still be a nerd without having watched those. No, yeah. I'm not an anime nerd. I'd never have claimed to be.
I'm not either. And Wicked Kender, well, I mean, Jeepo, I think Jeepo is like Ranger. Jeepo, yeah. You are an actual bow hunter, if I remember correctly, aren't you? I think you are. Because I think I remember him talking.
He said yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I actually really like playing Rangers, because I think of them as kind of in the same level of the same kind of realm as Paladins. They are a martial class that has spellcasting ability, but so they're both a martial class and a support class at the same time.
Yeah, they have the druidic magic though.
Right, they have the druidic magic. Paladins have the
magic. Way back in first edition, my main character was a ranger magic user.
Mm-hmm.
Dual class,
yeah. So I mean, I'm glad that I didn't have any particular problems with them, but I'm glad that they're adjusting them. I do like in each of these videos that they're showing, they go through each of the 4 subclasses that you can choose at third level. and kind of give you some idea about them and shit. And I think from what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing so far, I think this new edition is really going to lean into the idea of you can make anything within these classes. You should, if you've got an idea for a character, you should be able to shoehorn your way into something.
Maybe.
If
I mean, it's still.
if you've got a character that wants to be Batman, you could probably make Batman. You could, a character with probably a multi-class like Doomstalker or Doomstalker Ranger with Rogue, with some classes in one of the Rogue subclasses or something like that. If you want to make Captain America, you can make a Captain America. Things like this. I mean, it's not going to be like the hero system, the Champions hero system, but it sounds to me like they're really trying to open up a lot of options.
Well, I
ideas.
don't know if it's that or if it's just that because they're limiting the number of subclasses again. So they're taking they got this many subclasses because there were this many, then there were this many, then there were this many, and now they're going back to this many. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the ones they're keeping are some of the originals and some from Tasha's. I don't think I've heard anything that they're
Tasha's
keeping from Xanathar's. I see. I haven't heard them say anything from Xanathar's that they're keeping. But
no, I'm pretty sure that they've some spells and certain.
Well, spells, but I mean the subclasses is what I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, some of the spells and stuff I'm sure they're keeping. But yeah, I once made a Jimmy Buffett Beachcomber druid.
That sounds hilarious.
You know that's what Xander is, right?
Yeah,
he's a druid.
Xander, the mushroom,
the herbalist.
The herbalist, yeah. And we're at 2 hours. We need to get going.
Yeah.
One last thing I did want to talk about. Just yesterday actually, Sam Riegel, one of the cast members of Critical Role, arguably the class clown of the group,
the most annoying of the members.
The most annoying, but yet has had some glowingly amazing moments in the Critical Role campaigns at times, like really just incredibly emotional moments. He has been gone from the show for a while. I don't want to, if you're not caught up to Critical Role, and I'm actually not even caught up either, but some stuff happens and his character of FCG, some major things happened with FCG, and so he was gone for like almost, I think, something like 2 months, and he came back and made a video yesterday explaining what his absence was beyond his character, things happening with his character. Sam said had contracted, and he's recovering from cancer. He had gotten tonsil cancer, which men get from HPV and the human papilloma virus. And 90% of the people that get it, your body clears it yourself and gets rid of it. But for some people, it presents as cervical cancer in women and various types of oral cancers in men. There's jokes there, but I'm going to leave that alone. My friend Rick Carver had a similar kind of thing. Michael Douglas dealt with this kind of cancer.
And the thing is that I've heard that most men actually have HPV.
Well, they say that by the age of 50, 90% of the population will have some form of HPV because there's something like 80 different types of it.
Yeah.
And most of them are relatively harmless. Most of them just make a wart here or there. Some of it translates to genital wart, some of it translates to other things. But about 4 different kinds can cause cancer. So Sam had to go in. They was able to find. They were able to find it. If you want to see the video is on YouTube. You can see where he explains it. But he couldn't taste sweet for some. That's how it affected him. He couldn't taste sweet. He went to his doctor. Didn't have COVID. He went to an ear, nose, and throat guy, and they found cancer in his tonsils. So they removed the tonsils. They removed the fact that he still had his tonsils. That boggles my mind too.
I've still got mine.
Really?
Yep.
I had my tonsils out when I was a kid. I had pretty bad tonsillitis. So
I got my tonsils and my appendix.
I still have my appendix. I don't have my adenoids either. So
Oh, look at Renee has hers. Ochipo's got his. CD's got both. I think
well, I
you're
guess
out.
I'm the mutant
I think
then.
you're the weird one now.
I'm the freak then. All right. Anyway, you guys really should see the video. Sam really kind of pours his heart out. They removed a part of his tongue, part of his soft palate, and he has a 7-inch scar right here that looks like somebody tried to slit his throat. So, he got very emotional at several points in the video and about how he really missed his friends and really missed performing, and he really missed and telling stories, and he really missed not thinking about cancer or thinking about other things besides cancer. But thankfully, he is on the road to recovery. He is still having on medication. He had to go through chemo and radiation, but he is on the road to recovery, and thankfully doing a lot better. And that's really saying something too, because I mean, he had part of his tongue removed. The guy's a singer. I mean, he was a Broadway singer and stuff. So, thankfully he is doing better, and so I do recommend. And he does also talk about if you can get the HPV vaccine until age 45. And I think the only reason they don't give it to people over 45, and this is bullshit, is because statistically if you're over 45, you're either in a relationship or just are not as sexually active, and as where HPV is more often than not sexually transmitted. So otherwise, man, I'd fucking go and get it. But think about getting your vaccination if you can. It does vaccinate you against the 4 forms of HPV that can cause cancer. So definitely, try and think about it. Good night, Cheapo. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Have a good night.
And our hearts and minds go out to Sam Riegel and his family and everybody supporting him, because cancer is a motherfucker, and it's really awful. So
yep,
that's what I just wanted to say. So check out, if you can, go on YouTube and check out the video. It's
and the last thing for me is everyone, make sure you educate yourselves on Project 2025. It is a son of a bitch. We can't let that come to fruition. So educate yourselves, tell others, and please vote. So
please vote. Yeah,
it's some scary fucking shit in there.
Yeah, it is. Holy smokes! If that were to,
I haven't read the whole thing. I've looked into some of it, and it's
just the list. Just the list.
It's just
of what they want.
Yeah,
it's frightening.
Yep,
really frightening.
So
even Donald Trump just has said that he doesn't support it the other day. So,
well, yeah, until he gets in, and then that's what his constituents, or that what they want him to do, and then he'll just do it because
a lot of people are calling
he just wants people to adore him.
Yeah, a lot of people are calling bullshit on his tweet the other day about how he finds some of it appalling and doesn't. And he goes, "I wish them luck, but blah blah blah." You wish them luck? No, you wish them to burn in a fire.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't. Anybody it's Christian, right? It's alt-right, holy shit Christian nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's Nazism wrapped up in Jesus, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yep. So
educate yourself on Project 2025, man.
Yep.
All right, we should go.
Yep. So remember, you can follow us on most social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. Everywhere else it's Drinking Nerds. I actually just posted on Instagram for the first time in a long time. It's my work in progress for my my army.
Okay. People, we're on all the places you can find quality podcasting. Be sure to listen to us on Spotify and Odyssey and all the other fun stuff. And of course, Chris puts up the video file on YouTube as soon as he can. I know you're a busy guy, so
I finally got last week's episode out on audio today, because there was the technical difficulties last week. And it stopped. Basically, it stopped recording after an hour and 19 minutes, so I had to re-record it off of Twitch. and then do everything. So, yeah, that took a while.
Not bad. But anyways, tell all your friends about us. We want to try and get up to that 100 followers. We're at 95.
Yep.
When did we get the another 2? We were at 93 last week.
We got like 2 people Friday night.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantabulous. Morgan coming in right at the end. Morgan.
Yep, coming in right at the end. Yeah, I saw you were on earlier, Morgan.
Well, listen to the show, Morgan. We're gonna follow us.
So, all right, but I think that's gonna about do it.
That should do it.
So, on that note,
until next time,
Slancha. Oh, that was pretty good. All right, have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, night.